What throws me off is when I forget to fix like my car clock. What? Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the March meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Niskayuna. My name is Keith Frary. I'm the chair of the board, and could we please call the roll?
Mr. Hoke,
Here.
Mr. Latif,
Here.
Mr. Dolman,
Here.
Mr. Daly,
Here.
Mr. Green,
Here.
Ms. Pacheco,
Present.
Chairperson Frary.
Here. First order of business is let's take a look at the February meeting minutes. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to take a look at them. Are there any changes, corrections, additions to the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept.
Mr. Daly has made a motion to accept the February meeting minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Hoke,
Yes.
Mr. Latif,
Yes.
Mr. Dolman,
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah,
Daly?
hang on a second. Hang on a second.
Sorry, abstain.
Thank you.
Mr. Daly,
Yeah.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco,
Abstain.
Chairperson Frary.
Yes. Before we get started, we are recording this meeting, which appears on the town website later on. Because of that, we'd ask you when your case is called to please come up to the podium, speak into the microphone so that everybody can hear you, so that also nice and clear for the tape. Just so you're aware, we're going to ask you to give your name, your address, and then tell us a little bit about your request for a variance. Just so you know, we have a legal standard that we're required to meet in terms of approving or denying your variance. The questions may seem a little odd or strange, but the board members will be asking you questions along the lines of those legal standards. If for some reason you're unclear on a question or you're not sure about it, just let us know. We're not trying to trick you or do anything other than just make sure that we have enough information to answer those questions and to meet those legal standards. So we'll be calling you up one at a time. And if you have any questions, just let us know. So let's call the first case, please.
Appeal by Chattergoon Bengaro for a variance from section 220-30B2 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskayuna as it applies to the property at 2887 Troy Schenectady Road, Niskayuna, New York, located in the R2 medium density residential zoning district, to maintain a storage container on the property longer than allowed by code. Section 220-30B2 states that permits will be granted for 30-day periods. The first 30 days are free, but an applicant must submit a building permit application. For the second 30-day period, the $25 fee is required. At expiration of the second 30-day period, applicants may seek one renewal for an additional 30 days at a cost of $25. As applied, the storage container is not eligible for further permit renewals. Therefore, a variance from this section is required. 7 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
And counsel, just for a point of reference, the issue on this particular case is whether to approve a variance for an additional period of 30 days.
I don't know I guess that would be, they're seeking additional time. I don't have any indication as to how much additional time is being sought.
We did look at this issue once, I think on Algonquin, and I believe that the applicant represented because she was clearing the house out for her mother that she like needed an additional 45. So I think it's kind of up to the board how many additional days you wanted to add.
So as part of, if a variance is granted, it's up to us how long
Yeah.
to grant the period of, you're right, I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, I think you
What we
use,
decided.
you have the discretion to kind of set the time limit.
Fair enough. Will the applicant please come forward and give us your name? Do we have anyone online?
No, that's him. right.
Oh, okay.
No, that's it. No, we live next door.
Oh, okay.
Is the applicant present? Is it Bangaroo? Is that,
I contacted him on Monday and he did say he was going to be here.
okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we proceed to the second case? We'll put this aside for a second and see if the applicant does show up. I'm sorry, it'll just be a little bit longer. So let's table that one for a moment and call the second case.
Appeal by Rameshwar Singh for a variance from section 220-4, section 220-18A2, and section 220-25B1A of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskiuna as it applies to the property at 2705 Balltown Road, Niskiuna, New York, located in the RP Residential Professional Zoning District, to maintain a carport located in the front yard where carports are not allowed, and to maintain a 6-foot fence exceeding the 4-foot fence height allowed in the front yard. Section 220-4 states for corner lots, each street line shall be considered a front lot line. The property fronts on 2 streets, Balltown Road and Schwaber Drive. Section 220-18A2 states, except otherwise specified in this chapter, accessory structures are not permitted in the front yard of any lot. As proposed, the carport will be located in the front yard along Schwaber Drive. Therefore, the location of the carport in the front yard requires a variance. Fence, section 220-25B1A permits the maximum height for fences located in the front and side yards to be 4 feet. As constructed, a 6-foot fence is located in the front yard along Schwaber Drive. Therefore, a 2-foot fence height variance is required. 8 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Good evening. Could you please give us your name, your address, and then tell us a little bit about your request for a variance?
Name is Rameshwar Singh, 2705 Balltown Road. Yeah, I was here about 2 months or 3 months ago for, I don't know if you recall, but I was told that I could put my carport in this location, and I was given the 6-foot fence, and so no one could give me an answer on why I couldn't do that, but I was told from you guys it was okay.
Laura, do you have the prior request for this?
Yeah, so the prior request was in August 24th of 2022. The application was slightly different in that it had the existing fence that had been put up at the time and was asking to construct additional 6-foot fencing. And the carport was in a different spot, but the entirety of the variances were denied by the board. And that was passed on to the applicant through a denial letter at the time.
And Laura, the fence was up at that time?
The portion of fence, there was a portion of fence up, and then the old application had more that was going along. The difference between that application and this application is he's asking for only the portion of fence that's up, and the carport is in a different location. It's still in the front yard, though. So both
Understood.
the 6-foot fence and the carport were denied.
But the carport was not up in August, but is up currently, is that
Correct. It was put up in between without a building permit.
But just in a different location as initially requested,
Correct.
still in the front yard.
Still in the front yard. This property has 3 front yards, but still in the front yard. Yep.
And initially,
Hang on, we just need to kind of clarify in our own minds what we're looking at so that we can ask the right questions. The fence, 6-foot fence was up. The section that was up, was that in the front yard?
I muted myself. Yeah, that's in the front yard of one of the Schwaber Drive front yards.
Okay, and that, what was before us was a variance for the 6-foot fence that was up in addition to some more fence.
Yeah, most of the fencing in the previous application that was denied went along Balltown Road.
And the request that's before us is,
So it's a reduced amount of fencing compared to the last time. It's only for the sections of panels that are currently up, and then the carport that was constructed between now and then without building permit in the front yard.
but just so I'm clear, the request that's before us tonight is for the fencing that was previously up and previously denied.
Correct. Yes, it is.
Council, is this properly before us at this point?
We discussed this and determined that it was because technically it's a different application and what he was proposing at the time was greater than what he's proposing now. So in theory, the board could potentially reconsider this because this isn't the exact application. It's lesser. If there was more, I think the answer would be no, but because it's a lesser request than before, we decided that it was with respect to the fence. I'm not sure about the carport.
But even if the variance request previously was for this particular piece of fence and that was denied, I'm just trying to,
So I think the thought process is that this board takes into consideration the minimum variance necessary. And I think, Laura, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there was a lot of discussion about whether the applicant would be willing to reduce it. And at that point, he wasn't, and now he seems to be. So in light of the fact that had he been willing to reduce it, would the board potentially have thought otherwise? Maybe the answer is still no, but I think that there's a question there that this board can
okay,
consider.
thank you. I think we're squared away. So why don't you, again, do you take us through what you're seeking to do at this time? And let's put the last time aside. This time, what you're seeking to do, especially if it's changed location and why.
Yeah, so the 6-foot fencing that is up right now, I was told that I need to reduce that to make it 4 feet instead of 6 feet. But there's a commercial building right across my front door. So there's, the address, I think is 2721. And it's, just a lot of traffic as well as foot traffic in that area there. So the fence is very helpful. That 6-foot fencing is very helpful for my privacy.
I believe we had photographs last time of this. Do we have those photographs as part of our record? If my memory serves me. Could the board see those, please? So if I understand the fencing that you're seeking, the variance for the 6-foot fence now is the part of the last variance, but it was already up.
Yes.
Okay, so these photographs would be an accurate representation of what you're looking for now.
Yes.
And you're welcome to see them if you want.
The pictures of the fences in there, is it?
I think part of the fencing is shown in the
Okay,
photograph.
well, yeah, that's the only fence I have, right?
Mr. Chairman, if I may just have a moment.
Sure.
Mr. Chairperson, while we're circulating those pictures, would you mind if I ask?
No, please, feel free.
Mr. Singh, so what you indicated that the purpose of the fence is to shield the front of your house from a commercial building. What commercial building are you referring to?
I believe there's a 6-unit apartment building right across the street from my front door. And I think I was at the meeting here about a month ago, and the owner was asking to build another building right behind it, so.
Okay, so you're talking about, okay, so that's across Schwaber from you,
Yes,
the old veterinary clinic, is that what you're referring to?
which is now an apartment.
Okay. And you have constructed the fence to block that portion of your front yard across Schwaber, correct?
Yes, their parking lot is just open to my front door, and you know, the tenants there as well. They're, you know, high traffic to that Schwaber Drive.
And originally, when we discussed this, you were going to put the carport kind of closer to the intersection or the corner of Schwaber and Balltown, correct?
Correct, yes.
And I have actually I went to the site, so I did see what you did. You moved the carport farther down Schwaber towards what I would consider towards the rear of your house, but I understand that's a front yard, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and
that's where I was told by you guys where to put it, but now you're saying that.
well, I don't think we told you where to put it. I think we just indicated we were trying to problem solve with you different places that you could put the carport.
Yeah,
But I don't think there's any ever an approval for the carport at any point on your property.
okay, yeah.
That's my recollection, at least.
Yep.
What did you construct the carport of? It looks like it's constructed of like a
Just a shelter logic.
tent type shell.
Shelter logic.
Okay, what's it called?
Shelter logic.
Okay, are you planning on making a more permanent type structure, or is that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so right now it looks like it's kind of like a greenhouse type
Yeah,
structure.
It's not doing good with the wind, so.
Right. Yeah, it looked rough. Didn't look like it was yeah, that looks like it.
Definitely need to reconstruct something here.
Do you think that structure fits with the character of the neighborhood?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I mean that stuck out one of the things that stuck out to me was that
Yeah.
it didn't.
And that's why I wanted my fence. The rest of the fence will be 4 feet.
Okay, so you okay, but you're not planning on putting any more fence up than what is existing currently, correct?
4 feet, I will.
Okay, you're gonna
Yeah.
put up 4-foot fence.
Yeah, along, continue, and then also in Balltown, just to keep the traffic noise and.
Okay, that's not gonna shield the carport to your neighbors on Schwaber, correct? In
Yes.
the development behind you, they're gonna still see the
No,
carport.
the fence, 4 feet fence is gonna run across Schwaber and all the way down to the mailbox.
Okay. So what are you planning on building the carport out of?
Wooden structure,
A wooden structure? Have you gotten any estimates? Are you planning on doing it yourself?
yeah, myself.
Okay. Have you gotten any? Do you know how much that's going to cost? Or have you gotten a kid?
Wise, probably maybe 1,500.
And you don't have a garage, correct?
Correct.
And what is the purpose of the carport? Obviously, to park a
Just to keep my
car.
car, just to keep the snow away from my car, so I'll be on time for work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As I recall, from looking at the photographs, one of the suggestions this board made to you is putting the structure closer to the back door of your house somewhere. You have a driveway which comes in,
Yes,
and to put it somewhere in that area of the driveway, and
that's exactly what it is.
and that's where this is located
Yeah.
now.
I wanted it more to Balltown, but he didn't want anything there, so.
I'm trying to, in this photograph that's up on the screen now, where is your house located?
Right there,
Okay.
that's the fence.
And I believe that the suggestion of this board or the inquiry of this board was to put it closer to the house. It looks like it's all the way out at the end of the drive near Schwarber, right?
Yep, just because it's a steeper, as I go up the driveway, it gets steeper. So I kind of put it there just because it's more level. But I do have it's actually 40 feet away from, the distance from the street will be 40 feet and 50 feet from the road, Schwaber Road.
The picture that I'm holding up right now with the car sitting in it, your
Yeah.
house is to the right, correct?
Yes, that's exactly where that car is. That's where the carport is.
Just out of curiosity, after the prior appearance before this board, did you consult with the town at all before putting it up?
Yeah, that's what I was told that I could put in that.
No, my
location.
question was, your variances as requested last time were denied.
Yeah.
And you were aware of that, you understood that, right? You could not go forward with what you proposed last time.
Yeah, I didn't know how it works.
Well, was there any doubt in your mind that this was denied the first time around as you proposed it before? You knew that, right?
No, my initial request was denied.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
But
my
what I was
question.
told
You-
where I can put the carport, I thought that I got the okay.
As I believe, and I clearly recall this, as we typically do, one of the things we do is to see what the minimum amount of a variance, if any variance at all, is required. And this board offers suggestions or makes inquiries about, could you move it? Could you put it here? Could you put it there? And I believe very clearly your response to us was no. And hang on. And because of that, both variances were denied.
Yeah.
So there were no variances on the table. Since that time, you went ahead and put it up. Did you consult the town at all to see if where it was required a new request for a variance?
No, because I was told by you guys where to put it.
No, you weren't
Yeah.
told by us where to put it. As
Yeah.
I said before.
Yeah.
y-
I get what you're
You-
saying now, but it was a mistake on my end. It
Well,
was a
is there a reason you
miscommunication.
didn't consult? Does he require a building permit, Laura?
Yes, yeah. I was just trying to look up the timeline of the communications, but I believe that the next communication that the town had with Mr. Singh following the denial of the board was a stop work order because the carport was put up without a building permit.
Yes, but it's not a fixed structure. So I don't think
So the new carport that is up is not actually going to be the carport that will be there if this is granted.
right. It's not even the size it's just about half the size.
Back to my question, and maybe it's the same answer, was the reason, are you aware that you need a building permit to put this
No.
up?
No.
Did you inquire of the town if you needed one?
No, because the town actually got me for the fence. So I didn't know. I just needed approval for the carport. I mean, I know I needed approval if it's a structure.
And were you aware that the fence that existed, I know you were going to put more up, but the fence that existed,
Mhm.
you did not get a variance for, and it had to either be taken down or reduced to 4 feet. Were you
Yeah.
aware of that?
Yes, that's why I'm here. Because I told I could either come here and ask for fairness.
Okay, but the point is the fence that was in place when your last appearance before this board,
Yes.
the variance for a 4-foot variance,
Oh, okay.
or
gotcha.
excuse me, a 2-foot variance from
Yes.
6 feet to 4 feet was denied. You were aware of that?
The last time I was here?
Yeah. You asked for a
Oh,
variance so
oh.
that fence could stay in place at 6 feet. That was denied. Right?
What I've understood last time I was here, I was told it's because of the width of the house that I can leave the 6 foot, and if I want to continue fence, it has to be 4 foot.
Am I missing something, Laura? Part of the variance that he applied for before was for that 6-foot fence.
Yeah, correct. It was a much larger fence, but it's the exact same section of fence that was up that was applied for the variance last time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
You can ask a long question if you'd like.
Thank you. The section of 6-foot fence that's up now, did you put that up?
Can you pull your mic?
Yes.
Pull it
Apologize.
close.
Yep.
Pull it close. Yeah. Thank you.
I've been accused of many things, but not projecting is not one of them. So you put that section of 6-foot fence that's, okay. All right. That's it. Thank you.
Sure. Other questions by the board?
Yes, Mr. Singh. So as you've heard some questions, I just want to be clear on this. The structure that's up currently is a temporary structure, correct?
The carport, yes.
And I just want to make sure that there's a building permit required for a temporary structure of this nature?
Yeah, the building inspector does require building permits for this type of carport.
Okay. And the record from last August, it seems very clear that it was, the variances were denied. So placing any kind of carport on the lot was not being allowed, and leaving the 6-foot fence seemed to be not allowed. That's my opinion of the record. So I just want to make sure that you have also considered other locations for the future permanent carport. So if we can talk about that briefly, looking at the site plan, there were questions that are still unanswered as to why the proposed carport that would be wood structure in nature, why it cannot be on the, I would say, south side of the house, between the house and the easement. Is there a reason that it cannot go there?
That's the area there. There's a lot of trees. Yeah, there's,
If the shed were moved, could the carport go where the shed is?
yes.
So what I'm trying to suggest is that that would be a method by which you could reduce the variance that's being requested.
Reduce the variance? What do you mean?
Well, by trying to put it in the area where the current shed is located, that would be more of the side yard, I believe.
Yes.
Uh,
The driveway. Yep.
Correct. So it would not be out on the corner of the intersection, and it would be further back from the road, which is more similar, I believe, to the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah, sure. Because my numbers are 40 feet and 50 feet. So you just give me a number, I'll work with you.
So would you amend your proposal to move the proposed carport location to be where the shed is?
Yes. So for my carport right now where the shed is, but just move it away from the street, you're saying?
Well, we would need to see a dimensioned plan, and I believe that is something that was requested previously, is to have something much more delineated that we can talk about further.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions by the board?
Mr. Singh, I think one of the issues that's being outlined to you, and a particular concern of mine, is that before us, the application doesn't really outline what type of structure in terms of size, dimensions, materials that you intend to make this carport out of. I have concerns, given that the existing carport clearly does not fit with the character of the neighborhood. You admitted that yourself, as to what exactly is going to be put up. And the application as it stands doesn't have any information that would satisfy, at least myself, that that the structure that's eventually built would fit into the character of the neighborhood. The other issue that I have, with respect to the fence, it seems that you're using the fence basically as a blind, at least the 6-foot section. Its purpose is just as a blind. Did you consider any other kind of alternatives? I mean, there's numerous properties along Balltown Road that have, installed arborvitaes to get the same type of.
There's a lot of deers in
The
the neighborhood.
I think arborvitaes are deer resistant, but in any event, did you think of any other alternatives besides the fence? And my concern is that, again, with respect to the character of the neighborhood that your property is at a pretty prominent location for vehicles coming into the town from Saratoga County, and it kind of looks odd, again, from the perspective of how it appears and influences the character of the neighborhood. If I was one of your neighbors, I'd be concerned about that. So I guess my question is, did you consider any alternatives to the fence as a blind? Any natural alternatives?
Paint it,
Yeah, that would be a start.
paint it brown or something.
Okay, so so the answer is no. You didn't consider any other alternatives before you put up the fence.
Yeah, I did consider the arborvitae's, like you said, but I was just worried about the deer crossing the road and causing traffic.
Okay.
Accidents.
Because from what I saw when I went there, it really doesn't. The fence as it's up now really doesn't provide you much
Yeah,
benefit, other than maybe a potentially a slightly enhancing your privacy. But even if you encapsulate it in a 4-foot fence, you're still going to be able to see into your yard pretty readily from lots of different angles, right? So it's not a privacy issue.
yeah. Well, I don't know if you can see my door. It's right, where the fence is. But from my door level, across the street, the apartment unit there is there, and the cars are parked there at night with the lights on, and it's just shining right through.
Okay, so that's the issue. The lights are
Yeah.
shining into your house. Because there are no other fences in that neighborhood, correct? Behind your house, didn't appear that there were any other fences up anywhere that I could see
There's a vinyl fence behind.
behind it.
It's not my fence; it's my neighbor's.
Okay.
That's where the commercial building is.
Yeah, so just for clarification, the commercial building is one property away. This is a residential building?
Yep.
And
But that's
the parking
I mean,
for
it
the
shows
commercial
far.
building
It shows
is,
far in the picture.
it's on the other side of the commercial building, and the parking spaces actually face away from this property.
Right.
But believe it or not, there are cars parked all through it on that driveway there.
Is the real purpose to provide some barrier with Balltown Road, or is it this
Yep,
lot that's up
Traffic,
up away?
All Town Road, the noise and the wind, and just the foot traffic too, because the building has brought a lot of foot traffic into that Schwaber Drive there.
What building is brought? Foot
The
traffic.
apartment building.
Why would the apartment building be?
People are just walking their dog in our neighborhood, and their dog is like pooping on my lawn.
I'm sorry, what was the commercial?
The veterinary, the
Yeah,
old
the old-
veterinary.
What's the difference between having people residing in the apartment? There's 6 apartments there.
Okay.
What's the difference between have them residing, living, parking, and your other neighbors? Everybody's got neighbors.
It's a lot more commotion going on.
It's a residential facility. People are living there. It just happens to be a 6-unit building.
Yeah.
But you have neighbors on other sides as well, behind you, to the other side of you.
Oh,
Who
yeah, that's why-
probably have dogs and walk them and everything else. You're making this sound like there's a commercial building with trucks and
Yeah, they
running.
have trucks there. Yeah.
You're missing the point.
Yeah.
Running a business out of there, which that's where people are living.
Yeah, no, there's trucks there. Don't get me wrong. There's a lawn care business. I don't know the name of the business, but he's constantly parking his truck right up in that driveway there, and it's
Does he live there?
Yeah,
So where's he supposed to park his truck?
in the parking lot, but he's not because he can't fit. So he parks it in the driveway, facing his truck and his other business vehicle, facing right my front door, and I feel like they're spying on us. I don't get any privacy.
Okay. Other questions by the board?
Couple questions, sir. Mr. Singh, how long is that fence, the 6-foot fence you have?
40 feet.
How
This
many,
size
how
of
many
it.
sections do you have of the 6 foot?
About four,
4 of them?
8 feet, yeah.
And that fence was there last time you came in front of us?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I was unaware of,
Okay,
needed a permit.
all right. And you mentioned you're gonna add a 4 feet fence. Where is that 4 feet fence is gonna be, on both sides or?
It's gonna be on Balltown and, continue, in Schwaber, just to, not have my carport stick out like a sore thumb.
Okay, and what would it take you to make that fence consistent with 4 feet? Wouldn't that look a little better for your property if it's all, or is that too much work for you to do that?
Yeah, I just spent a lot of money on it. It just-
Okay. So let me ask you this question and then I'm not gonna go about the carport because I remember we talked about if you're gonna build a garage and all that stuff, so I remember the whole thing. But the fence where how far did you say, was it from Bolton Road?
The fence right now
Yeah,
from Balltown Road. Pretty far, I would say 50 feet.
50 feet?
Yeah.
And how far is
Probably
it,
more than that, yeah.
how far is it from Schwab?
About 40.
About 40.
Yeah.
It's in. So
say
is your property on the outside the fence? If you put that 4 feet and the 6 feet, is it going to be gated all around your house or?
No, just to block all the streets basically, because I'm in a corner
Okay,
and I have, it's just, I'm a corner lot. It's just no.
okay. And when did you put that fence up, the 6 feet fence?
Probably in July.
This year? Before you came in 2022? You came in August, you came in front of us? August, so it was in July when you
Yeah.
put it up?
Yeah.
Okay, and just to make sure, I know you're applying for a carport and a fence. The fence is already there. Did you look into how much it would cost you if you have to go with a 4 feet fence instead of 6 feet? Because you said it's a lot of work, but did you look into cost effective, how much would cost?
No, I did not.
Okay,
Just because it helps a lot from that. It's like there's a pitch from my front door to so that pitch is just the right amount of height. Just I mean,
it's tilted, your property?
yeah. It's
So
tilted so that
is the 6 feet helping you? Like how far down is it? Like 2 feet, a
it's
foot?
not even helping. But your question last time was if it's not helping, just cut it then, right? But like for me, that I didn't know that it was against the rules, so I just didn't want to cut it just because
Okay,
I spent a lot of money on it. And
all right. All right, thank you.
Any other questions by the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak for or against this variance? Hearing none. Would anyone on the board like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Dolman?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny the applicant based on the following criteria.
Can you just specify if you're making a
Yeah,
motion
I'm-
as to?
Oh,
I apologize. I should have said, are we doing one or both together or separate? So if you could just
Oh.
specify.
So this is only one application, correct?
Yeah, but there's two variance requests.
Okay. So then I'd like to address them together.
Fair enough.
Thank you. I believe that the benefit can be achieved by other means. Yes, by a screening hedge in order to provide the privacy and noise break that he's looking for. I also find that he could place the the proposed carport in a different place. It is a undesirable change in the neighborhood, as the applicant has already stated. This is a substantial request. I don't find any reason to see there would be an adverse environmental impact. This is self-created, so on the balance, I would move to deny the applicant his application for a variance.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman, for all the reasons just stated.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Just, Mr. Chairman, I just want to confirm with Laura. Laura, just to confirm, the property next door is not commercial, because I know if the property is commercial, they can have a 10 feet fence. So the one next to it is not.
The adjacent property, well, it's not adjacent, but the property across the street is a single-family residential
Okay.
home.
That's,
Then there's the multifamily, but that's, it's not considered commercial.
okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Please
Uh,
call.
I'm sorry, I just have a quick
Sure.
question, Chairman. As if the vote proceeds, I just want to understand the outcome of that and what the applicant has to do afterwards. I don't know if that's a question for Laura.
So the applicant has a certain time frame. It kind of depends a little bit on the season, but it's typically 30 to 90 days to bring his property in compliance with the direction from the zoning board before they get cited by the building department for noncompliance, which then they end up in the courts typically. But they would have a certain time frame to bring the fence to 4 feet and to remove the carport.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Hoke,
Yes, for the reasons stated. And Mr. Singh, I would just indicate to you that, in the event that you want to contemplate moving forward with your carport, you should take Mr. Pacheco's suggestions to heart. If you come back before the board, come back with, a really detailed plan as to where you want to put the carport, what you want to make it out of. Don't take anything that I'm saying to construe that as an approval to do anything. But I think that was one of my major concerns. And I think that if you get, somewhat creative with where you put the carport, you can really minimize the need for the variance and get it close, if not partially in your side yard. And then you wouldn't have to, the request would be minimized. So just take that thoughts. But
But it will be a wooden structure.
I understand. We just, if you come back with details. Okay.
Another variance?
Yeah. If you were to make another application for a variance at a different location, just,
I'm spending a lot of money just taking time off just to come here.
I
It's a
appreciate.
waste of time.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate your frustration, sir. But I am going to
Can we
vote.
take this, can I take this higher to, what's the next step that I can?
Well,
Well,
we're in the
hang-
middle of voting here.
Hang on a second. You may have questions, but we have to complete our vote, please. Okay.
So based upon what I've said and all of the things that were previously stated, I vote yes on the motion.
Mr. Latif,
Because it's, the motion is for both variants, I'm going to have to vote yes on this motion.
Mr. Dolman,
Yes, for the reasons already stated.
Mr. Daly,
Yes, for all the reasons stated.
Mr. Green, Ms. Pacheco,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Chairperson Frary.
Yes, and I'm going to add, part of the issue here is that whether it's confusion or you didn't understand the prior variance appearance before this board, especially the 6-foot fence variance was denied last time. My view of this is that this is the same request which has been made a second time. And
Yeah,
Ju- Hang on a sec. And because of that, I don't even think that that variance request is properly before the board, but we've brought it, we've discussed it. The 6-foot fence, I'm again voting to not approve the variance. And just so we're perfectly clear, action needs to be taken on your part to bring it in compliance, as Laura has said. In terms of the carport, we've had a few carport cases in front of us, and generally, carports, and especially this one, as it's constructed and located, is not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood at all.
Yeah, I wanted to take it
Hang
down.
on, please. Let me finish. I echo Mr. Hoke's concerns. We are being asked to approve a variance for something we don't even know what it's going to look like, what it's going to be made of, how it's going to look. Does it fit within the neighborhood? All we can say is what's there now does not.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Please, sir.
No,
please, sir.
No, but can I speak? now?
No, this is my turn.
But I wrote it down for
Sir.
the building inspector. Why are they not giving you this information?
Sir, please. I'm asking you, please, to
No, but you're
let,
telling me I'm wrong. I wrote it down for the building inspector.
can I finish?
Yeah.
Thank you. I agree that potentially, as Ms. Pacheco has said, it may be possible to bring this in compliance, at least partially. I believe, I not only believe, I know that that was discussed last time. I don't want there to be any confusion whatsoever this time. This board is deciding what is before it. And I am voting yes on both variance motion denial as it stands. And your variance requests are denied by a vote of 7-0. If in fact you have questions about the next steps or bringing things in compliance, I suggest you consult with the building department. They can help you with that process, okay?
I have to come back to ask for variance again?
Again, I think the best thing to do, we don't know what you're looking to do. So the best thing would be to go to the building department if you have something in the future or proposed. If you have questions about, you said, what is the next step? They can help you with that.
$100 every time for nothing, no answers.
No, you got an answer. The answer is you have to either bring it in compliance or remove it.
Yeah, but what's the compliance?
Compliance is a 4-foot fence where there is now a 6-foot and removal of the carport as it stands now.
But you're not complying. I'm looking to put a carport. Give me an answer.
I've just suggested that what you need to do is come up with some way, either
I did
you.
that. That's why I'm
Okay,
here.
please don't interrupt me. To bring it either in compliance so that you don't need a variance or in a place that minimizes the variance you might need in terms of a setback or something like that. And again, this is all can be confusing. The building department can help you, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Let's call the next case. Do we have, I guess we do not have the first one with us yet?
So Linda confirmed that she spoke with him today, and I followed up with the virtual invite, both by text message and email, and I have not received any responses.
All right, let's go ahead and address the third case, and then we'll come back and see what we need to do with the first case. So if you call the next case, please. Oh, and before you do, I'm going to pass these back. If you could make sure that these photographs return to the folder, to the record for both the prior and this case. Thank you. Please.
Appeal by Andrea Hanley for a variance from section 220-18B2 of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskiuna as it applies to the property at 11 Espin Place, Niskiuna, New York, located in the R3 High Density Residential Zoning District, to install a shed and pavilion which would bring the number of accessory structures above the zoning allowance of 3 accessory structures per lot. Section 220-18B2 states that there shall not be more than 3 accessory structures on a lot. As proposed, there would be 4 accessory structures: pool, fence, pavilion, and shed. Therefore, a variance for 1 additional accessory structure is required. 8 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Could the applicant please come forward and give us your name, your address, and tell us a little bit about your request?
Hi, good evening, Town Board. Happy Wednesday. My name's Andrea Hanley, and I am the owner at 11 Espen Place. I'm here before you. Would you like me to proceed with the
Sure.
reason that brings me here? Okay.
Please.
First off, I'm here before you because I've already completed the initial building permit for the pool and fence, so thank you. It's great to have this in hand. I've learned a lot in this process. It's been very exciting, and I would like to state that I had submitted a variance to add a shed for storage in the pool area, as well as a covered seating area. For lack of better words, I called it a pavilion. And it's a nice structure in the black and white photos you all have. I also have some lovely renderings in color. That appears to be up there on your screen. So my request is to have a variance to add on 2 additional structures, which would bring me over the limit of 3. So I would like to bring that in front of the board tonight.
I notice in the rendering, where is the shed going to be? Am I missing it there?
It's actually behind some nice greenery, and it's where the mouse cursor is going over
Oh,
in
see.
of the picture, kind of that corner left of the
Oh,
fence area.
okay. Thank you. I see it now.
Yep.
Questions by the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, a couple questions. Ms. Hanley, tell us what the size of your shed and why you need it and what you're going to store in it. And when we're done with that, we'll go back to the pavilion. Couple more questions.
Great, thank you. The size of the shed is pretty traditional. It is a 10 by 12 shed, and I plan to put some pool cushions inside of it, some chairs, lounges when it's not needed in season. It's just simple storage items so that they're kept away safely.
Okay, and what property is behind the shed? Do you have any neighbors in there or?
Sure, so I do. That would be the Bergen side of the neighborhood. And I believe my neighbors behind us are 28 Bergen, maybe 26 Bergen in between. So if you look at the orientation of the picture that's on the screen, there's a red object on kind of that, thank you for that. That would be where the shed is. Yellow is where the fence is, and then the covered pavilion is going to be on that bottom left-hand side area. So it looks like partly with 26 Bergen and partly with 28 Bergen is who backs up to the property.
Okay, and have you talked to any of the neighbors about what you're doing?
I have.
Okay, and
They're excited.
excited,
Yeah.
okay. Looks like it. It will be a nice party house. Let's go back to the shed. How far is it from the fence?
Okay. The shed will have a few feet buffer. I'm projecting with what I have here, somewhere between 2 and 3 feet from the fence line.
Okay. And Laura, this is 10 by 12, so it's legit, right? 5 feet, yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, let's go to the pavilion quickly and tell us a little bit about the pavilion, the size of it, and what your trying to build in there. And also the concern I will have about water issues in the snow time, in the rain. Where's that water going to go? Is it going to affect the neighbors, or how far is it, and so on?
Excellent. Okay, so the pavilion, covered seating area, is going to have a traditional rectangle size of 14 feet by 16 feet as far as the concrete pad area, talking flooring there. Obviously, that would come upward. It would be, the posts would be about 8 feet high. The cross beam that you'll see where the roof line then begins, wish I brought my pointer tonight, but I think we've got a pretty good
Laura can
area
do
there.
that. Laura
There you
can
go.
do that.
Thank you, Laura.
See?
So that crossbar where the roof begins would be about 8 feet high. And then the roof would likely peak to about 10 feet. And it would be a shingled rooftop. The inside would be a nice mahogany cedar. And I hope I'm giving you enough
Yes,
description
yes.
for that. And
Just-
then-
Is the pavilion's going to be open the way it looks in the picture?
Correct.
Okay,
And then you did ask a question about drainage.
right.
We are actually going to have turf lawn put in with drainage.
Okay.
So that had been considered as well. So
Very, very good. Thank you. Just a quick question, Laura. I know the pools usually, if we have a fence around the pool, then it's not considered as another structure, right? Okay, thank you.
Can you go back to the one with the red? Ms. Hanley. It appears from this photograph that at what I'll call the top, because I'm not sure of the direction, there appears to be a wetlands area or something in the top corner of that. Is that part of your property?
yes, it is.
Okay, so the positioning of where the pool, the pavilion, the shed, it's kind of locked into that particular part of the yard because of the location of the house, the wetlands, et cetera. In other words, you can't put it anywhere else, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The dark black line on this, is that your property line?
Correct.
Okay, so in fact, where the fence is, the yellow line, there is additional room from the fence line, the yellow line, to your property line.
That's correct.
Do you know how far that distance is from the property line to where the fence will be?
It's going to be somewhere around 12 to 15 feet.
So in actuality, where the shed is, if it's, I think you said, I'm sorry, you said it was 2 to 3 feet from the fence?
Fence.
So you've got about 15 feet from the shed to actually where your property line is.
That's correct.
Okay. And then where the property line is, I know you have 2 backyard neighbors, but how far to where a house or a deck would be on their properties? I assume the rear of their properties face the rear of your house.
Correct. And they have probably a
Even an
15 to
approximate-
20-foot buffer from where they have what is it called when the basement, a walkout basement. They all have walkout basement type properties. So
The area in between your property line and their backyards, is it trees? Is it open? What's it like there?
it's trees. It's somewhere around 10 to 15 feet of tree line, probably 8 or so on our side, 8 or so feet on their side. So it's a pretty solid buffer between.
So if I'm enjoying myself and sitting in your pavilion on a nice evening and I look over that way, am I going to look into your neighbors' walkout basements or is there more of a buffer there pretty much blocks my view?
Yeah, good news is we won't see them at all. And I think even better news with some of the other renderings I put in, we'll have some very nice, tall greenery.
Okay, so in terms of Mr. Latif's concern about drainage, if it's a raining or whatnot, the water that's coming off your shed is certainly not going to encroach beyond your property line.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions by the board?
Yes, Ms. Hanley, a few questions about the pavilion, particularly the way the renderings and the plan are showing. I just want to make sure I understand properly. The fence that's showing along the, I guess, southwest part of the property, is that on the property line or held back from it?
I will double check. There is a slight pulled back where the fence is, again, considering a buffer. It appears that it should be almost 10 feet from the property line.
And then, like the plan is kind of showing and the rendering is showing, there's a space between that fence and the pavilion on that side.
Correct.
Okay, so the pavilion is open on all sides. One of the questions I did want to ask is, did you consider making it all one structure so that the shed and the pavilion were one accessory structure?
Well, I've not considered that. With the access, it was intentional to keep them separate for what we would want to be taking from in and out of the garage and moving into the shed area, as well as where we'd want the pavilion. So it was intentional to have that spacing there. We weren't looking to do that. And I had learned that a fence and pool were two separate structures. So again, variance request for the 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions by the board? Mr. Green?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Who, if any of your neighbors, could see the shed that you're proposing if your variance is granted?
As far as the shed, I don't believe any neighbors would be able to see it with the tree line, the fence, and the space. They'd have to be in the yard to see it.
You know, and same question with regard to the pavilion.
Yep.
What neighbors, if any, would be able to see the pavilion?
My neighbor at 9 Espen Place would be able to see the pavilion.
What portion of the pavilion would they be able to see?
She was looking out at the, probably just the roof line.
And just so we can have a nice understanding, what do you propose the fence is going to be made of?
Well, the fence was approved for the vinyl. So
Is the entire fence line going to be of the same
yes,
vinyl?
yes.
This, I'm sure, is my shortcoming, but if I don't ask, then I say, why didn't I just ask? Is the vinyl fence going to enclose the entire back portion of the property? In other words, I'm looking at this and it could be just me, but it looks like the vinyl fence starts at where you're proposing the shed is, running the length of the property, and then I see clearly in the front of one of the photographs fence. Is there more fence over on the right-hand side? Is there more fence in the background?
I understand your question. That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. So if we go back to the property scale here, the vinyl fence will hug the split rail fence that I believe you're mentioning. It was intentionally left out of the artist's rendering so we could just get a special, like a spatial view of how the backyard would look. But because we want to enclose the entire yard. The vinyl fence will go from the back of the house as proposed and approved and surround that whole yellow area of the property.
Got it. So I'm looking at the photo, which is a rendition.
Yep.
It just seemed to me it was missing something. And you've filled in for us in the record that in the reality, as you're proposing, there will be vinyl fence or there will be an enclosure fence for the entire property.
That's correct.
And not to beat a horse, and it's me, it's got to be me. On the right-hand side of the rendition, I'm just curious where that fence is going to be and where it ends up, perhaps in relationship to the larger residential structure,
Correct.
just so I have a full understanding of what you're proposing with regard to that fence.
Okay, that's great. Happy to clarify. It would actually come at the back of the house, so it would come off that area. Thank you for that, Laura. It would literally come off the back as the code is, as I believe. So when we had submitted that and got it approved, the plot plan, this one, has it coming off of the back of the house.
Right, the rear back corner of the house, just for the record.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you
Yeah.
for helping me understand.
Well,
Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. I'm learning a lot in this process too. So however I need to clarify is my pleasure.
Any other questions by the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak for or against the requested variance? Hearing none, I believe it's time for a motion. Mr. Latai?
Mr. Chairman, I am going to make a motion to approve the variance. We're approving an extra structure. Usually we allow 3 on the property, and in this application, it looks like there's a fence, pavilion, a pool, and a shed. And all of the variances seem to meet our code of the town. And we have had situation like this before, and we have in the past have approved many application when they needed another variance, as long they meet the code of the town. So whether this benefit can be achieved by other means, it looks like this is the best way to fit it on this property, and the applicant did a good job there. Any undesirable change to the neighborhood, actually, it will enhance the neighborhood. It seems like the neighbor had some positive comments to the applicant. Is the request substantial? I'm going to say in this situation, it is not substantial. And the reason I say that, because in the past, we have had many people come in front of the board, and we allowed another structure on their properties. Whether requests have any adverse physical or environment effect, it will not have any. Again, the applicant has good plans for the water drainage. It has good plans for the surrounding of the property. And whether the alleged difficulty is self-created, it is self-created. But again, with all that said, and the applicant showed us that all the good work they did in here, I'm going to make a motion. We approve it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman. I think the applicant came here very well prepared. She answered all our questions. I don't see an environmental impact on it. I think it's going to be beautiful when it's done myself. So for all the reasons stated, I vote yes.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, let's call the roll, please.
Mr. Hoke,
I'm going to vote yes. I would just note that, we routinely or in the past have granted these variance applications for an additional accessory structure or structures in circumstances where there is, as is the case here, a developed landscape plan and there's sufficient room on the property to accommodate the structures, and all of the structures have a useful purpose, which is present in this application. So for those reasons, I vote yes.
Mr. Lataif?
Yes.
Mr. Dolman?
I'm going to vote yes with just the note that we do typically hold that this is a substantial request. However, on the balance, I do vote to approve.
Mr. Daly?
Yes, for all those reasons stated.
Mr. Green?
Yes, and in particular, I mean, it seems to me this is like very desirable. It's a change in the neighborhood, but it's a desirable change. And given the unique buffer of trees and the distance between those who might arguably be affected, if they would be affected at all, weighs heavily in me voting yes on the motion.
Ms. Pacheco?
I vote yes and thank the applicant for providing thorough information on the application and answering all of our questions.
Chairperson Prairie?
I'm going to vote yes as well for all the reasons that have been stated, and I would applaud the applicant for a very well-reasoned and well-thought-out presentation. Your requested variance is granted. Good luck with your project.
All right. Thank you all. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Let's
Here's the permit and give you-
let's go back to our first application. As folks are aware, the fact that the applicant is not here is not necessarily a reason to deny or grant the variance. Typically, the standard that we apply is more information needed, other than what's put in the application here. I had a question for Laura. It appears, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that if there's no further permit renewals, that this particular request for us to maintain a storage container on the property has already been extended twice.
Yeah, it has.
So normally you're allowed the initial request and then 2 extensions, and those have all been granted by the town.
Yes, they've
So-
all been granted by
So
the
the reason this is before us is it would require a variance for any further extensions.
correct. The building inspector can no longer issue a building permit for the storage structure.
I'm going to first ask if there's any discussion on this request. We're going to take it a little out of order. If people have questions, concerns, any discussion that needs to be had on this. Ms. Pacheco?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just a question on, in the application, the applicant states that they anticipate it being shipped out within coming months. Obviously, we do not have a specified date or length of time that they're applying for, so I have difficulty in making a judgment on this.
Thank you. Any other discussion amongst Mr. Dolman?
Mr. Chairman, I believe we've had discussions in the past. Can we give time-bound variances? Because that's what, if we're asking, is he asking in essence for a permanent extension to keep this there, or,
No, he's not.
but, so we can give a time-bound extension if we want, if we so desired?
For this particular type of variance, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The permit itself has time,
Right.
so I think you're allowed to extend the time.
Now, that said, Mr. Chair, the applicant has stated upcoming months, which and unforeseen circumstances, which implies to me that this is an indeterminate amount of time at this point. So that makes it difficult to make a time-bound, to give him another 30 days, for example. I don't think anyone has any idea if that would be enough.
Understood.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Latai.
We have dealt with this on Algonquin during the pandemic, and the people were moving out or something, they needed storage. Linda has talked to the applicant earlier. They're supposed to be here tonight. Unfortunately, they're not here. There could be some reason. So I'm wondering if we can table it to next month, and that will give the applicant the 30 days that they have to do what they have to do. And then at that time, maybe we can see if the applicant will show up. If they don't show up, then we can take a vote from there.
And certainly Elena can correct me, but I think a tabling is an option for this particular.
Because we have questions.
It is an option. I think some consideration should be for the neighbors who did show up here tonight and whether you want to take,
Yeah.
I
Information.
haven't gotten to that
Okay.
point yet. Yeah.
but yes, to answer the other question, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would propose, and I think that the applicant, had an opportunity to obviously appear tonight, also had an opportunity to contact us if there was a reason that he could not be here tonight, so we could take that under consideration. The applicant has submitted an application, and I think we should take the application based upon the content of that application. To the extent we can't resolve, or a member of the board can't resolve a particular criteria based upon the information that's included in the application, then it would be upon that member to, resolve that particular criteria, in any way they see fit. But I believe that there is a submission, and we can address this matter tonight. That's my position.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
with regards to the tabling of this motion, typically I would agree with Mr. Lateef that it is reasonable for us to give essentially one strike because emergencies do occur in people's life. However, in this particular case, doing that is a de facto extension, which seems to me to be inappropriate at this moment. The applicant will have a given amount of time to begin with to remove their remove the shed, even if denied. So I would not be in favor of tabling.
Okay, and I think while these are all valid comments, I think that would be appropriate for comment once a motion of some sort is made, but these are all very valid points. And I believe, as Mr. Hoke has touched on, our standard generally when this issue comes before us, we have an application. There is criteria, our criteria, which is stated within the application that we consider. And generally, the standard is if each board member must decide if they can make a decision based on the application only and the information that Laura's given us, or if you've got questions which don't allow you to make that decision, then you have to decide on the issue of denial of the motion or tabling, as Mr. Lateef has suggested. So I'm going to close down the discussion period at this moment. Hang on just one second. And what I am going to do is I'm now, as I usually do, I'm going to ask for if there's anybody in the audience who wishes to speak. And I thank you very much for your patience. This has been a long process, but we want to make it due process. So I know we have someone before us. If you would please come to the podium, tell us your name, your address, and it would be helpful for us to know in relation to this particular property where you reside, if you do, in the neighborhood, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is John H. Roofer. I live at 2893 Troy Schenectady Road. As of this November 4th, I'll be there 50 years. I ran into this gentleman years ago with his father, but things have got out of control. We've got a trailer sitting in the yard next door, boats all over the place. There was garbage floating all over the place. I got to go around with a bag every other day and gather up the garbage in the summer. I take good care of my house. It was no man, and I should have made the town proud. But this house is devaluating my property very badly. And the guy has not done anything to improve between us. Things are getting worse. He wants this permit granted. What reason? It's a commercial. It's not a commercial piece of property. It's a residential. What's he want to do? I put up with him building and doing everything in there, and I've been down to the town board, down to the building people. Nothing's been done. It goes on and on and on. This is the first notification I've received to come here for this permit, any kind of permit. Nobody's heard from me because I never knew nothing about it. And the other thing is, in this property here, I received this letter. There's no address on it. Now, where did this come up that I couldn't have got one before? I would have brought this down before. I don't want this. This gentleman's not complying with the town at all. Is turned into a junkyard, a dump, and everything else. You've got houses around there paying outrageous taxes. And the thing is, they should come first, not this guy. He's
Sir,
not doing the property. He's not doing anybody any justice, including this town.
Can I just ask you, where is your house in relation to this?
Right next door to it.
So if I'm facing,
I'm the house in the middle.
so if I'm facing your house, where is this property?
It runs right along. If I stand in the front of my house, or his house, it's on the right-hand side of his house, all the way to the back.
Just so you know, in terms of the notice, the town code permits 2 extensions, and those
I
are
understand that.
those are extensions that don't require notice, correct? So you got your letter this time because you're a neighbor who's affected by the request for the variance. So that's why you got this notice this time, and I thank you for coming. Let me just ask you the question, because I did not get the opportunity to drive by the property. Where is the storage container that we're talking about?
It's along the fence line. It's
Okay.
long.
So if I'm,
Big.
again,
It's
if
not-
I'm,
It's not just a trailer. It's a box on the back of it.
if
Boats
I'm,
all over the place.
if I'm standing facing this house, his house, is it on the right side of the property or the left side?
Facing his house, it'll be on the right side.
Okay, so it is in between his house and your house.
Right.
Okay. And have you had the opportunity to have any discussions with him about the storage container?
No, I tried to go through the building people here. I wanted to get them in there, and I would go in and we sit down and talk. There's no reason for that to be there. There's a garage on that property that you people denied. Larry, he's dead and gone, God rest his soul. He never able to use it because it was a commercial piece of property. the garage was. So they denied it, any use of it. This guy here is building in it, working in it, and everything else.
He indicates in his application that he is purchased the container with the thought to send it to Guyana for business purposes. Do you know what's inside, what's stored inside the container?
I have no idea.
Okay. I appreciate you coming before us. Anything else you'd like to add?
I just wish that it shouldn't be taking place. It's, I don't know, 50 years there paying taxes and stuff, I should get some results. And living there, I raised my whole family there. And the thing is, this should be taken into consideration.
And it is. And we,
And it's a house, my house, I keep it up. I'm 80-some years old, and I work myself to death keeping it up. Me and my wife, we work like hell. Excuse me.
How's the plows treating you these days?
Huh?
How's the plows treating you on Route 7?
the plow, the snow plows,
The
how are
snow
they doing?
plow.
2.5 lanes in your driveway.
It's bad. I didn't think I'd be able to make it tonight, but I was surprised I got out. You guys did a beautiful job on the side streets and stuff. You did a good job.
Can I ask you, sir, a question?
Yes.
That trailer, according to what Mr. Ferry was saying, that the person who has this trailer, he's shipping it away next month. Do you have any issues if it's there for another 30 days?
No.
You got to come to the mic if you want to speak.
Yeah, if you,
But he's heard
just
me.
tell us, just tell
That's
us.
okay. I
Tell
realize
us your
that.
name and address, even though we know where you live.
Gail Roofer, 2893 Troy Schenectady Road. We don't have any qualms about him having it 30 days, but those trailers, he had 3 on his property. 3 of them,
3 trailers?
3 of them on
Okay.
his property at one time.
What,
So-
not now?
Not now.
Okay,
He only has the one,
okay.
but it is between, you can see it. It's right. The tree line is right here and the trailer is right there.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you just, I'm confused as to what exactly this trailer is. Are we talking about like an intermodal freight trailer?
Yes. Yes.
So it's like a container that would go on a container ship?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
So is the container on top, of a trailer or is it on the ground?
No, it's on wheels.
Okay, so it's elevated up.
Right.
Correct. Okay, and I had a question for Laura. Laura, what would prevent this individual from removing this trailer and then bringing back a different trailer onto the property in, say, 3 months and requesting the same permit?
Well,
Would
if you-
they have to move it
Normally,
to
it's within a calendar year. I'm just reading the code.
so they only get one bite within a calendar year, but then they can do it every calendar year? Is that,
Yeah,
and that's anywheres on the property? If they move it to a different location on the property, it doesn't count for a new application?
I don't think it can be, so it can't be in the front yard. There's requirements. Portable storage units and temporary bulk waste containers have to be at the furthest accessible point from the street without blocking entrances or exits.
Is there any restriction on the height of the container?
Only one portable storage unit and one temporary bulk container unit may be placed in the residence at any time. Yeah, we don't run into this issue very often. It doesn't appear to have a height limit.
So I would just think that the container on top of a trailer would raise the height of that trailer considerably.
Yeah,
Good point.
this I believe is the picture that actually led to the building permit citation.
That's how high it is.
Is that the container?
Right
Yes, it
here.
is.
Is that the subject container?
Yes, it is.
Is that the container you can see?
Yes.
Is that the container that you don't want there?
Exactly.
Are you willing to give 30 days for him to get that container out of there?
Give them 30. And that's the
Th-
top.
Thank you for answering my questions, and both of you have been so patient. Thank you.
And around this, there's old used boats all over the place, including the back line. There's all kinds of, he was out there cleaning this place up as best he could, I guess. But the thing is, he must have knew he's coming up for an extension of his permit. It's gotta stop. We got a residential place there, a home that people live in. We've been there for so long.
The-
And the thing is, I don't want to move. Yeah, I get 50 calls a day to buy my house.
And understand, all we can deal with right now is the trailer, and I appreciate the concern about the boats and whatnot. We have another neighbor, it looks like. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we move to the? Okay, I'd like to thank you, both of you, for coming and being very patient with us tonight. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will stay.
Again, please give us your name and your address and your location as opposed to the property.
Hi, I am Cynthia Holmes. I live at 2890 Troy Schenectady Road. I live across the street. So if you go back to the aerial photo, I have photos. I made a copy of photos and I put it to some descriptions dated and timestamps because they were on my cell phone, and when you swipe up, I did make 4 copies for the board. I actually put it on this jump drive because Linda was very helpful on the phone on Monday, and I saw that you had this. So when you look at the property in green border and look across the street, I am the green house. I'm the green roof house.
I'm sorry, is that the one that's at the very bottom center of the?
Correct. The white
photo.
car
Okay.
is traveling eastbound in front of my house.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Very much so. And let's make sure we make a part of the records, these photographs and the narrative with them. Thank you.
So I have these photos. I've had them since 2021. I did not think I'd ever be in front of a zoning board, let alone with photos I took in 2021. I could not believe my eyes as what I was seeing day after day out of my window. And if I went outside, which I didn't do, I would have gotten better pictures. And they're on my phone. So when I got this letter, I searched my phone until I found them, because I think there's more to a story here than a semi-trailer, part of a semi-tractor trailer that's about to leave the property. So I respectfully ask the board to not approve the zoning variance for the storage container. That's how it was written in the letter I was received. The applicant refers to it as a trailer. If you would oblige me, I will refer to it as a semi-trailer, because if it were attached to the cab of the tractor trailer that's behind the house, it's roadworthy. I believe that container has been on the property since at least July 2021, probably earlier, but that picture right there, you see closest to the garage, deeper into the driveway, it's a semi-trailer. It doesn't have a cab attached to it. The one in front of it, the cab is attached. That's a tractor trailer. And it was so congested in the driveway that the wheels are actually onto and the cab sticks out into Troy Schenectady Road. Whether it could actually be the very same trailer. I don't know. I'm aware of my neighborhood. I had other things to do than track which trailer, semi-trailer is parked around the property. Semi-trailers and other like it that I have observed personally have already produced an undesirable and unsafe change in my neighborhood. I have been there over 29 years. This year will make it 30 that I've been at this home. The chronic tractor trailer traffic has produced a detriment to the road. My property and nearby properties with all the traffic hazards that they have created. It's also unattractive. It has the potential of lowering the value of my home as the property across the street where the semi-trailer lives truly does function more as an industrial park than a residence. So in my home, when there's something going on across the street, my husband will hear me say, you gotta come see what the industrial park is doing today. That's been before 2021. I just don't have the memory or the pictures to support it. I'd probably say the last several years. It certainly used to be a residence. You can tell when someone lives in a home. You can tell when someone doesn't live in a home. And I don't view that as a residence. It's zoned residential. It's visited. Occasionally, there are overnight people there. Again, my opinion, my observations. While zoned as a residential property for the past few years, it does not look like anyone actually lives there. Big rigs are worked on there. You get the backup beeping, when an industrial vehicle backs up, including the forklift that they have on the property. Other types of vehicles are repaired or driven in for storage or are moved about the property. According to, I believe you referred to it earlier, the portable storage in bulk waste language, and it's the permit from September 2020 in the packet I'm referring to. For portable storage units states, and I quote, all locations must be paved off-street surfaces. The semi-trailer is stored on the lawn of this residence and not on a paved surface. The variance. So my question, to maintain a storage container on the property longer than code requires this variance request. My question was, how much longer since 2021 are they supposed to be doing this? I get it, the permit process started summer of 2022. How much longer? And I know the applicant isn't here, but I asked the board. Living across, and bear with me, I have a lot of data. I tend to be quantitative in my approach, so I can stop, but I actually have points opposing every item 1 through 5 on the application. I don't want to drag out the night. My snow thrower broke yesterday and I had to shovel the end. Yeah, well, I just shoveled the end of my driveway. My husband was able to get out with as much as he did, but he had to go find a part. Not knowing if it was ever going to work again, because my husband did have to come back in. It is a treacherous road on a good day. Snow like yesterday. Hindsight, I would probably not have bought my house on Route 7. I may not have bought it in Niskuna, but that's the taxes and I do feel it's devaluing our property. I don't know if I could get now what I could get when it was visibly a residence. May I continue? Stop. I have fatality information of Route 7.
I think you've made a very good presentation to this board, and I thank you for being here.
If I may add,
Photos.
photographs are worth 1,000 words. And we have these photographs, and of course your words are important also.
Because one day in 2021, they had an even larger tractor trailer that they took several approaches to back into that driveway, and it is perpendicular to Route 7 across all 5 lanes. 2020 to 2021, there were 4 fatalities within 1 to 4 miles of my home, 1 near death that had to be helicoptered out. Most of them, I can walk to the end of my driveway and see those accidents in the 5 to 6 to 7 hours that the roads are tied up. This is another life-threatening injury or fatality to happen. I also ask that when this, should the board choose to deny the applicant and this is removed from the property, there needs to be appropriate safety controls for Route 7 traffic control. Because then I get the honking of the cars.
Ma'am, I'm going to need to interrupt you
Yes.
because that's really outside our purview and we need
Okay.
to move this forward.
Perhaps you can tell me who I can talk to about that.
Mr.
Later.
Chairman, I got a question for her before she goes away.
Okay, let's make them brief and to the point.
Just a quick question. Can you deal with this another 30 days? Because I have a lot of questions to the applicant that is not here. And I'm not disagreeing with you about any of the stuff you said, but I'd like to know basically what he's doing there. Because I don't like to hear what I heard. But again, can you deal with it another 30 days? Yes or no? Or just a question?
I'm along the lines as soon as feasible. I understand there's snow on the road, but there's rain in the forecast tomorrow. I am grateful for this opportunity. I am so grateful. I was sent a letter. I don't want to have this individual. I've waved across the street to him. I try to be wave hello friendly kind of a neighbor,
So
but I don't.
can you
like-
deal with it 30 days, yes or no? That's what I want to know, yes or
Or
no?
less, 30 days or less.
Well, the only reason I said 30 days, because if we get him here in the next meeting, and if he doesn't show up, then it's a different story, but that's why I'm saying the 30 days.
I would say no. I would say I believe if you both spoke to him today, does he know how to contact you during hours or off hours?
All right,
Does-
thank you.
did
You
he-
answered my
Did he
question.
relay a hardship? I would not want him to have had a hardship.
Okay, I'm going to close down the discussion section at this. And again, I thank you very much for coming. I need a couple of bits of information, Laura.
Thank you.
The portable storage bulk waste permit that's in our packet the issue date is 8/12/22, but I see there's a fee of $25, which I believe must be either the second or third renewal.
It's the second and third, but the first time you don't even pay a fee.
Right, but when was the first permit issued?
I believe it was
Yes, I see in the packet, it does read June 28th of 22 for the first permit that had no cost associated with it.
2022.
I'll look that up in our permitting system. Oh, okay, Linda's confirming it's June 28th of 2022 was the first one.
Okay, so if I understand the code correctly, then the first renewal date would have been July. The second renewal date would have been the permit that we have in August, and a variance would have been required in September.
So, but typically we would issue the denial, and I apologize, I'm waiting for the date of the denial. And then they have, okay, so is the application to do the additional renewal probably after notice and orders from the building department came in November of 22. Yeah, so following the third renewal, it looks like we dropped off 2 notice and orders for them to comply. And then they did bring in an application in November asking for more time. And once they do that, you have 60 days allowable to appeal after the denial, so that
My point very simply is they should have requested a variance before us in September.
that would be when the initial 90 days would have expired.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Any other questions by the board? Any other information?
And Laura, from a practical matter, if the application was denied tonight How long would they have to remove the trailer?
Again, depends on the weather a little bit and discussions, but it's typically 30 to 90 days.
Okay, so if we gave them another 30 days, they would then have
100
up to
60 to
120,
120, yeah.
60 to 120 days with this still there, correct?
Yeah, if it's reasonable for them to move it and there's negative impacts to the neighborhood, I think we would push much harder for the 30 days, but they do have to have some time to comply.
Okay, let's wind this up. I'm going to make the motion. I understand that the applicant is not here. I have questions for the applicant specifically regarding what is going on at this property, why this trailer is present. There is no information other than it's being shipped to Guyana. It's clear in my mind that based on the permits that we have in the file here, that as of September 2022, regardless of the administrative process, they were required at that point under our code to apply for a variance. That was not done. It's clear from the photographs that have been presented before us by the neighbor that even if this is not the same container, that as of October 22, it's been on the property, and clearly since June, it's been on the property, as well as other containers which are not in compliance were not permitted. Because of the questions that I have for the applicant who's not here and has not contacted the board or the building department, I'm moving that we deny the variance. I think that from my perspective, it is a god-awful eyesore on this property. It's a burden on these neighbors. It presents a stain on the neighborhood. And without the information that this applicant could only provide, I find that this matter can be resolved tonight versus providing the applicant with what is unwarranted additional time, which is only going to stretch out further. Because of that, I'm moving that we deny this variance, and also that the building inspector and the building department in haste make sure that this container is removed at the very earliest point possible from tonight. There's been a motion. Is there a second?
I second
Mr.
that,
Chairman?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Green?
I'd second the motion.
Thank you. Let's call the roll.
Mr. Hoke?
Yes, and I would just note for the record that irrespective of whether the applicant was present or not, I have serious concerns about the physical environmental effects that are posed upon the neighborhood, more specifically safety concerns relative to containers going in and out of this property, and to the extent possible, the applicant should be dissuaded from storing containers on this particular property, especially given its proximity to Route 7. And I'd suggest to the building department, as the one of the witnesses indicated, I'm not sure that it's even appropriate to have granted any of the permits that were issued, given the fact that the container does not look like it is currently stored on a paved off-street surface. So I would just keep that in mind in the future.
Mr. Lataif?
I'm going to vote yes, and I also, like Mr. Ferry, I do have tons of questions for the applicant, and he's not here. And from what I hear from the neighbors, it's causing undesirable change in the neighborhood. And also, this is causing a physical environment to the neighborhood. So I'm going to vote yes.
Mr. Dolman?
I'm going to vote yes, and I'm going to be just a little bit of a stickler. I'm going to go through the points here. I do believe the benefit can be achieved by other means. It is a trailer. it can be moved somewhere else. That is its purpose for existence. It was initially my impression that this was an undesirable change in the neighborhood. And that has been substantiated both in photographic and on the testimony of the neighbors that have come in. This is clearly a substantial request. I do believe that there is possibly an adverse environmental impact, especially regarding drainage and those sorts of issues, and also have no idea what's inside of those trailers. And this is clearly self-created. So for those reasons, I vote yes to deny the application.
Mr. Daly?
I vote yes to deny the applications for all the reasons stated.
Mr. Green?
Yeah, I'd like the record to reflect I did a site visit. Also, I'm satisfied with all of the information in front of me. And I have the applicant's application. I read it. It's his application. I've heard testimony from witnesses in the neighborhood too. We have introduced into the record photographs. There's plentiful factual information for me to vote yes on the motion to deny the variance.
Ms. Pacheco?
I also vote yes on the motion to deny the variance for all of the reasons stated by my colleagues. And I appreciate the time taken by the neighbors to express their dissatisfaction with the conditions of that property and how it's affecting their livelihood.
Chairperson Frary?
I'll vote yes on the motion. And again, thank the folks in the audience for coming in and taking the time to be with us. The motion or the request for a variance is denied. And that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's the last case. I would remind everybody, we've got a meeting in April 19th is our next meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. 78.